Ugg here with Two Salt Travel, and today I wanted to show you how to tie the Bruce Leech. This is a little stillwater leech pattern that I designed for fishing when fish are being a little bit selective on the lake. I like to fish this fly, I like to nymph it under a bobber, and I'll put this thing down as my terminal fly and try and fish it up off the bottom, you know, maybe 2, 3, or 4 feet, wherever I think the fish are located in the water column. And the thing that makes this fly somewhat unique is that, you know, these 60-degree bends on the eye of these jig hooks, the way they ride in the water is somewhat cockeyed, about like that. And so the idea is that this leech will sit horizontally in the water, and those plumes will undulate and slim down as you give it little twitches, and you can even give it strips to sometimes induce the strike. And it's a very productive little leech pattern that's extremely easy to tie. So next, let's take a look at how to build one. Okay, so you're going to want to start off by putting a hook in the vise. This is a Tiemco 403 BLJ barbless jig hook in a size 8. And to it, I'm going to add a tungsten bead slotted. This is the 5/32 in orange. And I just want to get that thing seated properly, just so it goes down to the eye there. And then I'm going to cast on using some ultra thread. This is the UTC 140 in purple. And I just cast on right behind that bead there. And then I can cut off the tag end. And then I like to just, you can kind of see how that bead is kind of wobbling around here a little bit. So I just like to kind of get that thing lashed down there until it starts moving and it seats itself in the right position there. And then the next thing you're going to do is grab some purple marabou, and this is strung blood quills. And I'm actually down to the really gnarly feathers on that bunch that I've got, which is good because for this fly it's so sparse that we're not going to really use much of this feather, so you can really use some of those ones that aren't very good for like your woolly buggers and things like that. You can use on this leech pattern here. So what I do is just, you know, separate that thing out by the tip and kind of pull those fibers down so they're perpendicular to the stem, and then I can peel those guys off of there towards the base of the stem, getting rid of those really gnarly ones. And then I like to cut out the tip too, because sometimes when you bend this over like that, you're going to fold it over and it ends up being like too square. I don't like how square that is. So I like to cut the tip out. So again, I'll just kind of peel back those feathers, exposing a little bit of the tip there, and just cut that right off so that you're left with something like this. And I like the length of those fibers. I like how those are laying. But I'm going to double this up. So I've got another one here that I prepared already, and I'm just going to put those two together. Just lay them one on top of the other. And then you might have to check and make sure that the tips kind of line up a little bit. And you can do so by pulling on one of the stems. And so I end up with a nice little clump that's about like so. Okay, and so we're going to tie this into the bottom of the hook on the side with the hook gap there. And I like a nice long feather, So I'm going to grab this pretty close down to the base here, and then I'm going to try and put it down onto the shank of the hook behind the bead, very close, as close as I can with one loose wrap, and then I can kind of crank it down with a couple more, and then I can cut those stems off down as close to the bead as I can, like so. And next, I like to pull those fibers back just a little bit and put a couple of wraps behind the feather, just kind of sort of trying to prop it up. I want that to kind of come up at an angle, like so. And then I'm ready to dub it. And so here I've got some Senyo laser dub in brown, and even though this thing's brown, it's got a lot of purple in it. And so I just want to pull off just a little clump of the dubbing material there. I'm going to get my fingers wet with a little bit of spit, and then I'm going to make a very sparse dubbing noodle onto my thread. And then I can again pull back these fibers, go one behind, and then one over, and then maybe one more behind just to make sure it keeps those propped up. And then I can just advance this dubbing forward to the bead there. And once I get behind the bead, I can go ahead and whip finish this fly. And I like to do a 6-turn whip finish, 6, 7, maybe 8 if you really want to. And then I like to get that really kind of cranked down. And then cut off the end, cut off your thread there, close. And then a little bit of super glue will finish her off just behind the bead on those thread wraps. Use my bodkin and then just kind of paint a little bit right there on your wraps, just to try and get it right in there on those thread wraps, and then you don't have to worry about it coming undone while you're fishing. Alright, so that is the Bruce Leech on a jig head hook. It's an egg sucking leech. If you enjoyed this video, please click subscribe on my channel, and you can view more fly tying videos and instructional videos on fly fishing. Thanks.